time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Reilly, Newman, and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Welcome back to another round of Brandy. Today is a shot.
A little smidge.
A wee bit of brandy for you.
We're actually starting off with an ad that we saw that we just thought was quite clever.
It's a new campaign, and it's kind of making news. It's getting buzz right now, and it's a kind of a sport. It's a sportswear brand that I've kind of forgotten about because I think they've kind of just been overtaken by others. But Columbia Sportswear, and they've been around for a long time. I mean,
I feel like I
long
honestly
time.
just forgot about them with REI and Patagonia always being in the limelight. Columbia's just like, it's a classic brand though, and this new ad campaign they're doing, it really is just has so much personality and so much substance to it, and it's fun and it just has energy, and they're highlighting their whole thing is kind of for anything, for whatever like goes on in outdoors, and that nothing is really beyond what the brand can't handle. It's a really interesting concept overall.
And so it kind of draws extremes. It shows like a gal walking through she's playing around walking through a field like she's on a nature hike, and she's walking through a field, and all of a sudden this snake comes out of nowhere and just latches onto her hand. She starts screaming and throwing around, and then guys like skiing, all of a sudden like an avalanche comes in. It's like such extreme stuff. And even one of my love is so funny is this guy's running, he's like cross country running, and behind him is the Grim Reaper, and he's running, but the Grim Reaper's got like running shorts on, and it's just hilarious. It's that idea of expect whatever.
Yeah, what I love about it is like with REI, Patagonia, you get all these like picturesque. Oh, they're out jogging and it's like flawless. They're going through the forest. Moments, yeah, right? And it's all these. And they even on the Columbia one, this I think it's a girl. She's running through the forest and she just like face plants in a puddle of like muddy water. And it's like, dude, if you've done cross country, if you've ran, like there are these moments where you do just wipe out. You step wrong or you hit a root or something and your foot gets caught and you just wipe out. It's just like the harsh reality of being out in the outdoors. And
right. But the way it's shot too is it's not like you're laughing at some girl's peril, but because the way it's done is over the top, and like it paints this picture of an interesting campaign that I think is going to maybe hopefully be very successful for him.
Yeah, and I feel like even the psyche aspect of it is that they show like a girl running and she looks up and there's vultures above her, and then it goes to like this cartoon mode where then the vultures are like eyeballing her. Yeah, and then even the guy running from the Grim Reaper, like when I would go on long runs, you do have those thoughts of like sometimes it feels like you're being stalked by a predator or like. I was always afraid of mountain lions, but you do have those thoughts of like, it feels like something's following me, or it feels like there's something like watching me. Yeah. And especially when you're out on a trail by yourself. And I don't know, I feel like that they intentionally did that to tap into some of the psychology and stuff. But yeah, overall, it's funny. You should look it up on YouTube. It's really, really just...
It's a fun campaign.
Over the top and unexpected for Columbia.
Yeah. But not what we're going to be talking about today for a quick little brandy shot. You started off by coming across the quote, right? And that's what got us talking about this.
Yeah, there's the Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon and kind of the lead thinker with so many things that Amazon has done, and even with his space stuff now. And he would always, even I think it's in his first shareholder letter where he said, "We're not competitor obsessed, we're customer obsessed." And this goes in with the mission that Amazon has always had, where it's being the Earth's most customer-centric company. Like that's what he's always had, that as this kind of like sounding board for his decisions. And in a lot of the shareholder letters, he would always reference back to these principles of not only how he's guiding the company, but also the decisions they make as they were building Amazon. And as you know, Amazon is massive. And just going back to okay, why did they do Amazon Prime? Why did they go into media? Why did they make these decisions? Yeah. And if you kind of put it in the lens of if Jeff Bezos was so customer really focused in that way, then you see the benefits of it. But also we want to talk about okay, well, what does that mean on the other side of being competitor obsessed?
Being obsessed, with not with your competitors, but with your customers. And it makes me think of like, it brought to mind for me, let's say an Olympian track runner who's on the starting blocks, and he's probably looking over and sizing up his competition. Right? That's healthy
Yeah.
to do. He knows the one or two guys that, that is probably his biggest competition and might try to break his record or come in, first. But once they start out the gate, they are tunnel visioned in their lane. And they're not glancing over at the competition to see what they're doing or how they're performing or if they're coming up behind or if they're exceeding them. They in fact, I think there's the one time some guy actually looked back, and it threw off his conversation. He ended up getting second place some because the other guy just zipped by him at the last second because he lost his focus. Yeah. And so there's that idea that I think so many businesses out there and building their brands and stuff they're constantly monitoring their competition. And rather than really just focusing on what they do and more importantly, being more obsessed with their customers than their competition.
Now, I do feel like obsession as a whole gets it's frowned upon, but I feel like there is actually healthy obsession. And you see that in a lot of founders where you will have very neurotic founders who become obsessed with something. Like Steve Jobs is like that. Jeff Bezos was like that about this. And then you have a lot of other founders who had these obsessions, whether it's Dyson with the vacuum or some of these other things where it's like they become so focused, like Walt Disney with Disneyland. But with this is like focusing on the customer. Jeff Bezos would go, okay, let's focus on the customer and then work backwards to come to our solutions, and not losing that and not becoming obsessed on the competition, because that's how you, like Scott was saying, like that's how you get distracted and you kind of start losing the focus and losing the momentum you're making. And by doing that, it's like having a healthy obsession of your customer. That's why he did launch Amazon Prime. It's like not like people were demanding that, but he was so focused on the needs and the desires of his customer that he knew convenience and value was number one. So then he goes, okay, what does that mean for our, model of a company, and how do we then deliver that? How do we actually bring that to fruition?
Right. And I think when we talk about obsession too, it's like, I think, like for everyday purposes, we think of obsessions, we think of our hobbies and things that we, are obsessed with, whether it is an intellectual property like Star Wars or Harry Potter, where people are just super obsessed, super fandom, right? Yeah. They're healthy things to have, but there's also a flip side to obsession where it can be too consuming and too, that's all you think about. And that's unhealthy.
It's almost like at some point, a healthy obsession, you're consuming and partaking of the thing that you like. And then on the unhealthy side, the thing's consuming you. Like you see that with social media where, yeah, you can do social media and be fine, but there's a turning point or a tipping point where the social media, the platform is now consuming you. It's all you think about. It's you care about the likes, the views, all these things, and it's just consuming your life and really eating up all your time. And now you're really dependent on this thing.
When we're saying it's a good idea to be obsessed with your customer, it doesn't mean that you are every single move you make, you're asking the customer if this is okay that the brand does this, or hey, every month we're going to put out a poll because we're thinking about changing this, and we want to make sure that that's okay with our customers. That's not what we're talking about, because that is not going to be good for business.
And really, to think about it, it's like the audience should fall in love with you and be into your brand and love your product because of the value you bring to the market and the distinct positioning you have that's based off of your strengths. So yes, your decisions and actions you take should be based off of a strategy. You should have a plan. You should have an idea of what you're doing and really what your brand represents and how you're going about that in the market. But it's almost going to be distasteful to people if you're always asking them and always going, okay, is this okay? Should we do it over here? Or is that all right like this? And you're always asking them, and now the audience is kind of leading the dance. And yes, you should 100% listen to your audience. And just like Jeff Bezos, where you are customer-centric, you are obsessed about the customer, but the customer is also relying on you for this experience, for the performance, for the delivering of that value. They don't want, they're paying you. Like they don't want to be the one who has to make the decisions or has to tell you what to do or how to act, but they want to be drawn to you. And it's there is an art of kind of seduction in that. Like, you have to be leading the way and helping your audience know that, hey, this is how we do things. And if you get in line with our brand, we do agree with you on these things, but also people like us do things like this. Like we always say, like we've said in the last couple episodes as well, is like, you got to kind of set the tone and set that behavior so that they go, like that brand X or brand A, that's the one for me. And then there's that connection.
You, the business owner, need to steer your brand, not your customers. You tailor your brand to appeal to your customers and relate to them and be distinctive enough. But you don't, it's not, your brand should not be designed, run by committee, that being the people that walk into your storefront or the people that order online or the people that hire you for your services.
Yeah. And I can't help but think of like the episode we talked about of the theater of brand, where in a theater setting, the audience does play a role, but when you're creating this experience where the audience is watching something, right? Your customer is experiencing and watching your brand and interacting with it. It's like you can invest and obsess on their experience and making that valuable and immersive and great for them. But you're not obsessing on really what they think. Like in my mind, there's a difference between investing and creating this and being a good host, right? It's like you're creating this awesome environment for them and providing all this value in the experience. And then you're not just obsessing on what they think. You're just trying to do your best to create this environment. And that's what even like Walt Disney with Disneyland, he was so obsessed on Disneyland. But it wasn't just that he was obsessed on creating this land, but he was so obsessed on creating this experience for someone to be able to walk through and enjoy. And then he was always looking for ways to go, how do we make this more on point? How do we make this better? How do we just keep advancing and making it, more and more better? And it was probably like, again, to a degree of unhealthy obsession where he started to neglect his kids and do stuff like that. But overall, it was like, he was so obsessed on the patron, on the guest, that's all that mattered.
Right. But he also had a framework he worked in, because if he was so obsessed with what the customer thought, then there's obviously, Disneyland is for everybody. Some people are like, I don't want to spend all day there because I can't do this or I can't do that or I can't,
Yeah.
And that's true. So it isn't a matter of you or the business or the brand trying to appeal to everybody, because you can't.
Yeah. And that's what, like, we talk about brand is relational, and like in a relationship, that would be codependency. When you're so codependent on your partner or your spouse or whatever, and you are then going, okay, yeah, and you're doing anything and everything to appease them and keep that, where you're never
Make
actually
sure that they're happy.
Yeah, and then you
disregard
neglect
your
yourself.
happiness 100%. That's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And so then it's like in business, like, yeah, you need to be able to guide, and the customer, the audience, they kind of want you to do that. They're like I said before, it's like, they're wanting to be like, brand is entertainment. You're suspending them in a state and they're wanting to go along for the ride. And yes, there can be moments of co-creation and their participation in that, but there's still, you're providing this performance for them and you're giving them the value. And it's not just, you're falling over backwards over everything that they want or say.
You don't want to run your business and your brand with blinders on. You want to be aware of what your immediate competition is doing. Only so much that you can, if anything, try to maintain an edge or distinction that breaks you apart from the competition. That's healthy. That's something you want to do. But it's not something that should be your main focus, and that you're constantly, always observant and pivoting every step of the way just based on your competition. You've got to focus more on your customers.
Well, that makes me think it's like a lot of these companies, the founders were highly, highly, highly competitive. Some of these are very vicious human beings who are extremely competitive, but they're not competitor focused or competitor obsessed. And so I think there's a fine line of like, you can be competitive. You can go, I'm going to win. Like, I want to get first place, and that's fine. But you're not just focusing on the competitor. It's like Kobe Bryant didn't focus on the competitor who he's playing against. He's just like, no, I'm going to be number one, and that's what I'm going to do. And he was so honed in on that's just like this tunnel vision on being competitive and doing the best possible performance ever. And I think it connects so well with like Amazon or any of these other huge companies that we see, where they're lean and mean, and they give it 100% every single time.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that sums up this short little shot today of just a little reminder for you guys to think about.
Definitely. If you found value in kind of this, customer obsession versus competitor obsession conversation, feel free to leave us a review. That helps us reach more founders around the world just like you. And if you know someone who you think would find value in this, feel free to text it to them, send it along. But until next time, cheers.